Can we go beyond the walls of national boundaries, race, culture, and religion, and create a world of perpetual peace and happiness? The question all religions seek for an answer. Reverend Moon proposes International Blessing Marriage Ceremony as the answer. Reverend Moon teaches that through the blessing, humanity can be rid of original sin, be connected to the heavenly divine lineage, and after removing fallen nature through the path of indemnity, we will find the kingdom of God and His righteousness. The blessing marriage ceremony, which started in 1960 with 3 couples, increased into hundreds of millions of couples in just 40 years. Finally, on January 27, 2001, the World Peace Blessing Ceremony was held at the New York UN headquarters. Blacks with whites, wealthy and poor, Japanese and Koreans, Jews and Christians giving their vows. The intercultural, inter-exchange, international blessing marriage ceremony is no longer a unification church ritual. This is receiving attention as the fundamental solution to realize the ideal of one world family under one God. This blessing ceremony has expanded as a movement to recover the family, transcending race, religion, theology, and culture.
I behold the Lord of all, my old self dies away, so dies the world of sinfulness, giving birth to good. Soon a new self emerges, clear and bright and pure. Come and behold the new life, heaven and earth reborn. Now I behold Jerusalem, city of loveliness, gently descending from above, ever to be my own. Joy never-ending is with me, long as the Lord is near. Joy ever flows in sweetness, river of precious life. Kingdom of God eternal, fervently I desire. Heavenly rays so softly falls, shining the sun of grace, springing forth in ripeness, fruit of the tree of life. Torment of doubt is over, gone is the shadow of death, torturing every part of me. Sinfulness rules my soul. Still God raised me purified, giving creation to me, letting me live in His palace, shining with golden
Without a true Children's Day, God couldn't be happy. I wanted to start with a very short joke today. I heard this from Kit Marr before the service. Kit was telling me about the turtle who was on his way to church. And he ran into a gang of snails, and they mugged him. For those whose English is not the first language, mugged means they robbed him. They took his valuables, his money, his gold watch, all the stuff the turtle had. They took it. They mugged him. Later, when he got to church, they said, "What happened?" And he said, I don't know. It all happened so fast. Thank you, Kit. So from Mother's speech, which I spoke about a little bit this morning, where she was guiding the tribal messiahs and national messiahs at Changpyeong a week or two ago. You could see it at the Family Fed homepage, that speech, 10 minutes or so. She referred in that speech to something that I wanted to talk about this morning. And you've heard Mother many times refer to the crane, right? And how the crane flies over the Himalayas, and it's an amazing bird. It's huge. And it covers vast distances. In her speech this time, she was talking about what she called the longbill. Did anybody see that? And do you remember what she said? The longbill. Apparently, it's a bird that some of the part of the year lives in Alaska, but it makes a long flight, I think she said, to Australia. And it takes 10 days, and it doesn't stop. It flies 10 days. The cranes, I believe, they can land if they want to. Well, I tried to look up this longbill bird. I was interested. What's going on with this? What's the story behind it? And I couldn't find it. But I found a golden plover that in the summertime it spends in Alaska, and in the wintertime it flies south. And people on the island of Hawaii have been studying it, so they know a lot about it, because that's where a lot of them go. They go to Hawaii. Some go to other islands, including way south, like New Zealand and Australia. But the plover that flies to Hawaii was the one I could look at and study, and it's just such an interesting bird. Do you want to hear about it? Okay. So this plover spends its summertime in Alaska, and it flies there from Hawaii. It's there for about 3 months. It has a little territory that's about the size of a football field that it claims as its own. And it builds the nest. The plover lays 4 eggs. They all lay 4 eggs. They take a while to hatch, but they want to do this in Alaska because once the young are born, if you've ever been up to Alaska in the summertime, there's a lot of insects in certain parts. Lots of insects, lots of mosquitoes and things, and there's plenty of food for the birds. So the family is able to grow up quickly on all this food and the long days of daylight. The summer in Alaska is far north, so they almost don't see a night during this time they're growing. Then, when the summer's over, though, they're faced with what to do for the winter, and they don't want to stay there. So they fly south, and many go to Hawaii. The problem for the plovers is they don't have waterproofing like ducks or swans or birds that are water birds, waterfowl. So they can't land in the ocean and rest. They have to keep flying. So to go from Alaska to Hawaii is about 88 hours. They've studied them. It's 88 hours. What does that work out to? Is that about 4 days? I think it's about 4 days. And they have to be leaving at just the right time, because on that flight, they have a certain amount of fuel, I guess kind of body fat, right? They don't eat on this trip. They don't land, they just fly. So they have to have body fat, like all the animals that live up in the north. You know, the bears have to hibernate, so they get as big as they can before they go into their winter places to sleep. But these birds fly, so if they have too much weight, they can't fly so well. But if they don't have enough, they're not going to make it to Hawaii. They're going to run out of fuel. So it's got to be just right. They put little transmitters on these birds to track their flight. And when they downloaded the information, when they got to Hawaii and they collected the birds, they found that they don't fly kind of zigzag. They just go exactly straight. They even used to think that they'd hit one of the islands and use it as the guide to work their way down to the main island where they like to go. But they don't do that either. They go directly to where they want to go when they're flying to Hawaii. Just like when they return in the summertime, they go back to the same baseball-sized field where they had their nest the time before. It's very amazing. They don't know how they do this, but they do it. And they can't fly too fast because of the wind resistance. They'll burn up too much fuel. So it's about 45 miles an hour, nonstop, 4 days. And they just have enough fuel to get there. I don't know. This story was really amazing to me. I thought it's just an amazing little bird. And it's not big. You see them even here on the coast of Oregon. Where I grew up, they had some kind of plover. I don't believe it was a golden one, but it's the odd little bird that you see on the beach. The tide goes, or the wave goes out, and a little bird goes running, looking for something to eat where the water was. And they run in one direction, they peck real quick, and then suddenly they're just so fast, they're moving off in another direction. It looks like they're confused, but they're not. They're just so fast. They're not like the turtle. Anyway, Mother was telling about this bird and how it would fly for 10 days to get from Alaska to Australia. Somebody told me it was Australia. I thought when I heard it, she said Austria. I got to read it. I got to listen to this again and really get it right. But in this case, it was 10 days. Now, that's twice as amazing. I'm wondering, it must be a different bird because that plover can't fly for 10 days. So, isn't it fascinating, the stories that Mother comes up with? It's amazing. She was comparing us as children of God to the animal kingdom. And if the animal kingdom can do these kinds of things, and we're the children of God, we have to be better than them. So this is what was intriguing me. I wanted to understand, what does Mother mean by this? What's the message that she's putting into the middle of this? That we should be better. In other words, there should be some goal that we have in our life that's guiding us and keeping us on track. And there could be many goals, right? If you're young and you want to get through school, that's a pretty big goal. Or maybe you want to do something out of your life and you're working on something, whatever it might be. But this morning, the goal that we were talking about was tribal messiahship. That this is the one goal that all families here share. There's something that we need to do in our life that fathers outlined and educated us and guided us. This is what our calling is, right? So that tribal Messiah is the one who wants to share blessings with others, to live the unselfish way of life and share what they have with others. And of course, the most important thing that you have to share with others is what you know, right? What you know, what God has put now in your heart and mind because of True Parents' life, example, teachings, is the most important thing that we have to share with others. So some people are a little bit, they hear that word tribal Messiah and they think, well, how can that be? If you're a traditional Christian, you only have one Messiah, that's Jesus. Of course, you're waiting for the second coming, but Father calls us tribal Messiahs. Jesus was saying that you will do greater things than I will do, right? So if Jesus was a Messiah, he wants us to be Messiahs too. And his great commission was to send out his disciples to go to all parts of the world and save the people, preach the gospel. In a similar way, True Parents are asking us to be tribal Messiahs, to go out and do things. So, Mother is comparing that tribal Messiah family to a noble family, a family that fulfills its responsibility in her mind is a noble family, nobility. We're talking about royalty. It's a family that met its destiny and accomplished its goal. It's a special family. We're blessed right now as, we receive the blessing from True Parents in marriage. But that's one level, that's one part of the three blessings. We also have the third one, right? On behalf of God, to take dominion over all things. That means the world. To set up God's government on the earth. Not a government of thieves and thugs and dictators or what have you, but true men and women of God leading the world. It's waiting for that. It's waiting for the royal families to emerge. So it's not easy. To do what we're asked and being called to do is not easy. And a lot of times people will avoid doing something that's difficult. I just don't want to do that and go in the other direction. But if you think about what knowledge we have and compare it to a different kind of situation, say you're living in a place where it's a valley and there's a dam that's holding back a lot of water. What if you're the only one that knows that dam is in danger of breaking? Maybe you're the only one that's really alert and pays attention and studies. And everybody else kind of like over the years, they forgot about the dam. It never broke. It never had a leak. It's never been a problem. And you're talking about it. It's been a lot of rain this year. The dam's right up to the very top. It's never been that way before. And you're the only one that realizes the danger. And you even sometimes can't sleep and go inspect the dam in the night. And you're seeing cracks one night. You're the only one that knows. Are you going to leave? You could go to a mountaintop and save your life, or go back and try to wake up the village. Wouldn't you go back, even at the risk of your life, to save that village? What if it's a long drive over a mountain road and your parents always told you, drive slow, drive careful? And yet, you can't, right? Because all those lives are in danger. You drive as fast as you can. You risk your life for the sake of those villagers. What I'm talking about is, if you're a tribal Messiah and you understand the situation, there's things that you have to think about and things that have to be done. So I think in this coming year, we need to think about our destiny to be a noble family, to be a royal family, to be a family that's truly different in our neighborhood, in our school, in our place of business, unique. If people could see you with their spiritual eyes, what they'd see is something very different than they see in the physical world because of who you are, what you know. God's blessing is upon you. So Father's hope from that, we read the majority of a whole speech that Father gave about 30 years ago this morning. And in that speech, Father was saying that he wanted to end the history of oppression, the history of suffering for the families of the world. He did so by opening up the way and the door for other families to follow his. So that is before us. We're coming to the end of this year now, right? As I said to the families this morning, yesterday was the day that True Children's Day actually fell on. We're celebrating today, but yesterday was 40 days left in the year. We have time to think about what we've done and plan for the next year. Reflect on what we're doing and, in a sense, make a new beginning. We've got to do two things in the next 40 days. We've got to close this year, and there's still some unfinished business that's kind of, I feel, lingering. Kind of promises we made at the beginning of this year. I haven't forgotten them. We have 40 days to continue, and then we're going to start a new year. So on behalf of everyone, I want to remind us that let's do our best in these final days of this year. We celebrate today as True Children's Day because that is our position, and we want to make God happy. And this is a day of thanksgiving and appreciation and celebration and happiness. But we've got to remember that for the rest of this year, we have to make preparations and bring closure and then make a new beginning. We are really special. You hear that a lot from me, I think. We're really special, but there's nobody else that can do it. We are the ones that God loved enough that he gave us these special gifts. Therefore, it's our job to do the rest of it that comes with us. With that blessing came responsibility. The good thing about it, though, if we go back to that example of the plover and our lives of faith, is that, the plover basically, I believe, it flies by itself. The dad leaves first. No, the wife, the mother leaves first to fly for Hawaii. She's given birth to 4 eggs, 4 children, and she eats as much as she can. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you this morning because I felt like it was curious to me to know what True Mother was talking about. And I feel like from studying those plovers, I gained something. I understand kind of more what she was talking about, to the national messiahs, the tribal messiahs, to complete the journey that they're on, to finish it, and like the plover, get to the island, Hawaii, paradise, whatever you want to call it, right? As blessed central families, our goal is heaven. We want to be with true parents as much as possible, so that that includes life in the next world. Thank you very much for your kind attention this morning. God bless you. Have a wonderful True Children's Day and a wonderful close to this year. Please join me in prayer.
You were reaching through the storm, walking on the water, even when I could not see. In the middle of it all, when I thought you were 1,000 miles away, not for a moment did you forsake me. Not for a moment did you forsake me. And after all, you are constant. After you forsake me? After all, you are constant. After all, you are only good. After all, you are sovereign. Not for a moment will you forsake me. Not for a moment will you forsake me. Every step, every breath, you are there. Every tear, every cry, every prayer. In my hurt, at my worst, when my world falls down, not for a moment will you forsake me. Not for a moment will you forsake me. After all, you are constant. After all, you